All right, we are back. So we're going to now introduce our next session. So maximizing your assessment software, top 5 pro tips for TAO users. We're going to welcome Patrick back to the stage and also Christoph as well. Sam, I'm going to hand it over to you for introductions.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again, Ashley, for introducing the session. And so, as she mentioned, this session is going to be tackling pro tips for TAO users and really getting into some of the nitty-gritty. So it is my pleasure to introduce today's speakers. And again, before we get started, of course, please feel free to drop your questions into the chat as always, or the Q&A, and we will moderate those at the end of the session. And now kicking things off, we have Christoph Noel is leading the business analyst team at OAT after joining the company as a developer more than 6 years ago. In the meantime, he successfully led national assessment programs for OAT European customers and has helped design new OAT solutions, such as TAO Grader, from the ground up. He enjoys using his in-depth expertise in the TAO platform to find creative solutions to our customers' challenges. We also have Patrick Plichard with us today, back with us from yesterday. Patrick is the co-founder and solutions architect at Open Assessment Technologies, where he is strongly involved in the field of computer-based assessment, conducting research and solutions management for national projects at OAT, and pioneering many countrywide TAO deployments. Patrick has also managed software engineering aspects of international large-scale surveys, including PIAC and PISA. And so without further ado, I will hand this off to Patrick and Christoph to get started sharing their tips.
All right, thank you very much, Sam. So I'm going to share my screen to start with. All right, so I will have to jump back and forth between the slide deck and some demonstrations. So yeah, hello everyone, a great pleasure to see you again. So today, Christoph and myself, we wanted to show you from a practical standpoint some of the key features of TAO platform, and we selected basically those features that are not really feasible. I mean, we could almost call them secret features. And we thought it would be useful maybe for you to know about them because they might be interesting for your own endeavors. And actually, I was thinking that it would be very interesting is as we present them, right? I mean, we will have one slide per feature pretty much. And as we present them, it would be good if you could reveal through the chat here in the Zoom if you knew them or not, right? And we suspect that most of them are not very well known, right? So I think they deserve a bit more visibility. So let's get started. So it will be a bit practical with some demo this session. So the first tip is the following, right? And I think this is a good segue with Gediminas presentation, because I don't know if you noticed, but you saw at the end of the test some instant report, right? Some instant feedback made to the test takers with some information about the scores and also some information about partial scores related to some topics, right? That some of the items are covering. And I don't know if you know actually how to do that in TAO. And I think this is one of those hidden features, because yes, it's possible to display this kind of instant feedback live to the test taker, and you don't need to wait for the data analysis. So I will show you how to do this, and but this is based on the assumption that you already know that when you are in TAO, in the item bank, you can put some metadata, right? Like here on the left, I have a domain for items, and I have defined 2 domains, right? So all of this is configurable in TAO. But here I've basically stated that this item called Belgium is related to geography. And maybe the one at the top here, basic arithmetic, is aligned to math. So when you configure this kind of metadata on your items, TAO can automatically compute a score for any item covering geography, any item covering math, and TAO can also display this kind of scores right to the test taker upon at the end of the test, basically. So I want to show you how to do this. So let me just move a little bit my screen here. And I want first to show you what it looks like, right, in terms of test taking. So let's just take a simple test. It's a basic test I've created this morning. So you're familiar with this. So I'm starting with the very first question, just a simple question. As you can see, so this is one math question. I'm going to respond. I think here I responded correctly. Then the next question is a geography item. I know this is a bad idea to mix math and geography in the same test. This is for the sake of the demonstration that I've done that. But here, okay, let's respond correctly. The capital, Canberra. Again, one geography item with Brussels as the capital of Belgium. And finally, one math item, right? So I think a better example would be maybe one math test with some questions on trigonometry, some questions on geometry, which sometimes happen, right? And this screen is basically something maybe you haven't seen so far, right? So this is basically a simple item I've created in TAO. I just dropped a picture in there. It's just a copy paste of a picture, but the part at the top is a bit more dynamic, right? So you can see here, okay, you get a score. I could have formatted that a bit, right? But here you have a score, 4 out of a total of 4. And interestingly, you have score per subject, right? Like, okay, in geography, more in specific, I got 2 out of 2. In math, I got 2 out of 2 as well. I get scores per item. And then also, I have here some sort of conditional message, right? So congratulations, I succeeded in the geography area, right? Obviously, here, if I were to start it again, just quickly, I'm just going to do it again, and I'm just going to ignore, right? So I'm just going, I want to be wrong on every single item, and then we will see the report. You can see here that the message changed, obviously, a bit slightly. Sorry, please, maybe you will do better next time, right? So this is a conditional message. And I want to show you how to do that because we consider this is not highly feasible. So let's move a little bit into the back office part, the administration part, where the authors can configure their assessments. And let's look first at the item bank. So here we have our item bank used for demonstration. So that's why it might look a bit messy here. But I have here my 4 items plus one item that I called here thank you. So this is this final item. It's just one picture, this item really. But here you can see that we have for each item metadata, right? So, and again, you can configure this. You can specify more subject matters. You can describe your standards there, curriculum, or taxonomies as you want. But here, if you align items with this kind of domain, then TAO will be able to score all items related to common domains. So the test will be informed about those categories, and then we will be in a position to score that. Let me show you when we assemble a test what this kind of metadata will impact. So if I assemble a new test now, so let's recreate this test we have just seen. And I'm moving into the authoring part. I can see again the item bank, and I'm going to quickly pick those 4 items. So they are here. Just going to take all of them like this. Right, so they are all in my test now. So my test has been assembled. And the bit that is important is that now you can see here that there is a category. And I think Gediminas also mentioned the use of categories. So the category has been filled here automatically by TAO. So this is based on the metadata that is set by authors on the item bank. this piece of information is also going into the test, because the test needs to know that. The test needs to know which items are math, which items are geography, to be able to compute scores for math and to compute scores for geography, right? So this is the first step, right, is to put metadata on your items, and then this metadata will flow into the test. The second step in TAO test authoring is to specify that you want scores. You're interested to get the scores because you could do a formative assessment, right? No scores, no stakes here, and by default, right, there is no scores computed. So you're interested to have scores, and here I'm selecting the option I want to have total scores. Let me get rid of that. And you can see here from this option, so by default, we have a score total and a maximum score computed from a test, right, with this option. If I state, no, I'm interested to have also category scores. So based on metadata, then TAO will compute more scores. And suddenly here, because some items were related to math, some items to geography, we will get a score in math, we will get a score in geography, right? And you can even go a bit beyond. If you want, you could also, if you didn't put metadata on your items and you consider that there is another dimension to those items, I don't know, I consider that this item here and the Australia item, they measure a little bit reading, right? So here you can basically state that, okay, it's about reading as well. It's still geography, this one, but it's about reading as well, right? If you do that, then TAO will start also to compute a score for reading together with the math and geography. So an item can contribute to multiple domains, right? Multiple topics being measured, right? So this is the first step we wanted to share with you today. And again, right, would be interesting just to get your, yes, I knew it, or, oh, I didn't know about that into the chat. The second tip, I don't know if you noticed, but I displayed those scores to the test taker at the end of the test, right? And displaying this kind of scores at the end of the test is something that is also not very visible. Let me just check the time. Okay, so you can, so remember I had one item that was just one picture. And I'm going to insert this one item. It's just one picture. There is no question whatsoever. It's just an item called thank you, right? But then, and I'm putting that into a section. What you can do here is that you can insert what we call rubric block. A rubric block is a piece of text that will show up as a banner at the top of the screen. And that will be available all the way during the section. Right, so here obviously I have one section with only one item, so it will appear just above this item, but it will appear all through all the items of that section. So let's create one rubric block. And so this is a piece of text where you have some formatting option. You finished the test, right? So something a bit neutral, right? Because this is not yet conditional, right? This will be displayed no matter your score, right? But I want to display the score. So how do we do that? Your score is, and then obviously here you need a variable, right? So it might sound a bit more technical, but obviously you need to pick the score variable. But it is not that complex. You have this tool here, X, Y, meaning printed variable, right? And then you can select among the list of variable which are dependent on all those categories, right? So you have the score total. So I could come here and select just the score. Or let's just take the score total, right? So this is maybe 2, right? And then obviously you want to say 2 out of 4, right? So here this is not standardized scores, right? This is just the absolute scores as per configuration on the item. But I want to tell the test taker you have 2 out of 4, right? So I need also to indicate the maximum score reachable. So for that, similar process, right? Oh, sorry, I had already selected this. So I'm going to select here the score total max variable. And there you go. So you have configured here one section with one rubric displaying the score to the test taker. Right, and obviously you could here pick any partial scores, right? So any scores measuring geography, or you could even have some score per item being displayed, right? This is the trick that I used in the test I've shown to you, where we had scores per item displayed to the test taker. You could have some categories on each item to get TAO to compute a score variable and display it here, right? So this is the second tip I wanted to share, right? This possibility to display those scores directly during the test session, right? So in a real-time fashion somehow. The third tip I want to share is, obviously you may want to have some conditional rubric blocks, right? So like those two messages here, congratulations, or a message rather inviting the user to learn a bit more some specific topics and to try again later, right? So obviously for that, you need to put some conditional rubric block, and this is also possible, right? So let's just take the positive case where you are successful, right? So congratulations, you succeeded. And then here you want to have it conditional. So you need to have basically a pass or failure indication, because 2 out of 4, what does it mean? Right? Did you succeed? Did you fail? I don't know. And TAO doesn't know either. Right? So you need to tell TAO the threshold. And for that, you can move to what we call cut score here, and then you can configure some pass ratio here, right? So once you have configured this kind of pass ratio, you can come back on your rubric block here, and then you will be in a position to specify that this is a feedback block. This is the language from QTI. This is why also it's what we call a bit hidden feature. Unfortunately, I think we should improve a bit the graphical interface for that, but it is what it is. I'm enabling that, and then I can say here that the condition to display this particular rubric block is that for the variable pass all rendering, so that means you succeeded all variables using that cut score. And then here, I need to specify that this will be displayed in case you passed, right? I could also go for the alternative where you would not pass, right? And this is something like this. So this is the third tip, right? Conditional rubric block, so that will display information to the test taker depending on the comparison of a variable with the cut score. And I hope this tip was also helpful for you. Since all the recordings will be shared, you can probably come back at it. And if you have further questions about how to use that more in depth or more in details, feel free to contact us to get a bit more information. I had a fourth tip, but I think I will be a bit quick because I don't want to take too much time here. The fourth tip is that you also have the possibility in TAO to have branching rules in your test, right? So depending on the performance on some items, you will go to specific items or do some sort of stage adaptive design. So based on the performance on some section, if you did very well, you will likely go to a more difficult section of the test. And this is also doable. I can show you real quick one example. I'm not going to save this test. So here I have just one example test, including branching rules. And we used items that reflects the definition of the test just to illustrate a bit how branching rules work, right? So I'm on question 1. And I'm going to respond correctly. The correct response is this second response here. And if I do that, and if I move again this screen here, and click the next button, obviously I will go to question 3 instead of question 2, right? So this is the mechanism of branching rules. If I know fail or do not respond, I will go here on this question 6. You see it's in orange. So this is possible. How you do that? Unfortunately, it is not possible via the graphical interface. But since we have a powerful engine behind running the test, supporting basically the QTI standard, and since QTI defines a lot of possibilities in terms of branching rules, precondition, operators, etc., you can do much more when you edit the test manually. So the strategy for that is usually to assemble a test, a sequential test, using the graphical interface of TAO, so which is then really easy. But then if you want branching rules, you can export the test out of TAO. Then you will get XML files, right, following this QTI standard. And this is one example of a branching rule into that XML file. And I think with the help of IT staff, they can come up with branching rules to achieve that. And then you can re-import this test back in TAO and get it delivered with all those branching rules or preconditions correctly supported. And the standard goes quite far, and so is TAO in terms of operators, etc. And thank you very much. So this was our fourth tip. And now I would like to give a bit the floor to Christophe, who has a couple more tips actually to share with you today. So Christophe.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. So let me share my screen.
Should I pause share? Okay.
I think it should be.
Yeah, it works. It works. Yeah.
Okay, so just if someone can tell me how much time do I have so I can calibrate the presentation.
There are about 10 minutes left.
10 minutes. Okay, so we might go a bit fast, but if you get all the slide after, you will get all the pointers to be able to recreate all this all those demo. So the first one I want to demo is how to optimize or to make the integration with an LMS. So in that case, Moodle, but it can be really any LMS supporting LTI 1.1 a bit easier to manage, right? So the end goal is, as a student, here I'm logged in as a student in a course, and I will be able to click on a link which will bring me to TAO. Okay, so I move from Moodle to TAO in a seamless way, using LTI 1.1. So the functionalities that I'm about to demo, we are currently working on moving it to LTI 1.3, but it's not fully done. So for now, the demo will be based on LTI 1.1 still. So how do we achieve this? So some of you may already know that functionality to go into the delivery tab and to select the LTI link of a delivery and adding, copy-pasting, right, this URL, adding it into a Moodle activity, and then this is how you will link the activity link in Moodle to a delivery in TAO. It's doable, it works. It's just a bit cumbersome to use, right? Because you need this copy-paste, it's a manual operation, and it's not really user-friendly. So we have a better way to do it, and it's basically to create register TAO in Moodle as an LTI 1.1 tool and give it a generic URL, right? So here I'm using the same URL that is the one that is here, only I'm just taking the first part, and I'm leaving aside what is specific to the deliveries that I'm about to link. Okay, so that's basically the only configurations that I need to do in Moodle. I will still need to add the key secrets for LTI registration, and that's it, right? So that's my TAO is configured. I can go back to the course, and in the course, I will just add an activity and select the tool that was registered previously. I will only need to set a name, right, for the activities that I want to link. So yeah, whatever. And that's all that I need to do on the link. So for now, it's just a generic link, right? It does not target any specific delivery. But if, as a teacher, I click on this link, I'm going to a secret screen in TAO, unless I'm having the demo effect. No, it's there. All right, so and this screen allows me to select the deliveries that I want to link to the specific activity link. So basically, the information that I have here is the same information that I have in the delivery tab in TAO. And I will be able to select the quiz that I want to link the activity link to. It's a one-time setup operation and it cannot be undone. Meaning that if you want to link a second delivery, a different delivery, you will need to delete the link in the course and to recreate it, linking it to another delivery. And now, if as a student I refresh, I will have a new link, right? And if I click it, I will go again to TAO. And right, so okay, and just one word about this screen, right? So after I select the delivery, I get this weird screen here that is going to tell me how many delivery execution have been taken on this activity link. So it's kind of poor monitoring, right? But we can do much better, right? What if instead of having this simple screen, you could add the full proctoring TAO functionality? So that's the second tip I wanted to share with you, is that we can link TAO to an LMS, not only TAO delivery, but also TAO proctoring. So what I can see here as a list of ongoing test session or finished test session in the context of the course, right? So it's automatically scoped to the course that you launch it from, meaning that if you have another course with other TAO activities going on, they will not be shown to the teacher of the current course. And from here, basically, you have all the monitoring functionality of TAO. You can pause the test session, you can add comments, you can terminate. If you have the functionality enabled on the proctoring, you can add extra time, etc., etc. So it's a nice addition to using delivery with TAO delivery with the LMS. You can also use the proctoring system. And how will you do that? Basically, it's not out of the box with TAO, so there is a specific extension that you need to install, which is called the LTI proctoring extension. And again, you will need to register TAO proctoring as a tool in Moodle using a specific proctoring URL, and then enter the registration parameter. And from here, you can just create a link in the course as you will create any activity link, selecting the proctoring. And at least in Moodle, you will want to hide it from the student. In other LMS, you have some the possibility to put some link into the left menu or in other places in the LMS user interface. So that is a nice addition to a nice way of integrating TAO with an LMS, so not only for delivery, but also for monitoring. So the next tip is about advanced item scoring, right? So Patrick told a bit about test scoring, and I want to say a few words about how you can basically bring the item scoring to the next level. So, and I will demo some items, so some requirements that we get frequently from our customer. So for example, we could go to the all or nothing item. So it's an item that has multiple interaction, here only 2 interactions. And if I want a correct score, I need to a score of 1, right? I need to answer correctly to all the interactions. And then I get a score of 1 out of 1. And if I'm wrong or any given interaction, I will get a score of 0. This is why we call it all or nothing, right? Either you have all correct and then you have a 1, either you have only a single mistake and then you have a 0. So how do we build that kind of item? Again, it's not a default functionality in TAO, so you need to install a specific extension to enable this functionality. So it's available as open source on GitHub. It's part of TAO core. And by installing this extension, then you will have a new entry in the response processing menu. Right, so here I have what you get by default, the match correct, the match response, and the none. But now I have the custom. And if I click on this button, it will open an XML editor. Okay. And what you get here is basically a programming language, an XML programming language that is a QTI fully compliant programming language. So whatever you write here is portable to any other QTI platform that also supports the custom response processing. And it looks a bit impressive at first, right? Because it's XML, it's very verbose, so you need to write a lot to do a small thing, right? So without going too much into detail, here we have a response condition block, meaning that this is something that will be executed if a condition is true. The condition itself says that both the variable of the interaction one needs to be the correct one, and the variable of the second interaction needs also to be the correct one. And if those two conditions are met, then I will set the value of the variable score to 1. And that's how I get my score. And now I also need to set the max score, which I know is a 1. And that's why I have this additional rule, which is not conditional, because it's something that I will always want to happen, regardless of what is happening with the test taker response. And I'm simply saying that the max score variable should be a 1. So again, it's a bit impressive at first glance, but it's really, once you get some example and you get to practice a bit, it really opens up a lot of new possibility on how you can score the item. And I want to finish quickly with a second example on how you can use this advanced scoring. And I will go fast, but the good thing with this example is that you have it's online in our training center, so you have a very detailed lead on how you can recreate this item. But I just want really to mention it because it's a very frequent request that we have from our customers. So in this item, in this case, I will have an item with multiple interaction, and instead of having only 2 variables as an outcome of this item, by default it will be a single variable summing up the score of all individual interaction. So I still want that, but I also want a distinct variable per interaction, so I can know when I use the analysis that the test taker got this specific score on this specific interaction. And how does that look like? So here I have 3 multiple choice interaction with a map response processing, meaning that the value associated to each choice is different, right? So if I select 2 here, I will get a value of 2 in the variable score 1. And if I select 3, a value of 3 in the variable score 2, etc. So let's see, and that's indeed what I'm getting. So I have as a total score, I have 6 out of 9. This doesn't change, but I also have the 3 new outcome declaration with the specific score of each interaction. And if you change the value, it will change the result. So I'm not going to go into the detail of the response processing rule, just to be mindful of the time, right? But you can see that we are basically setting the variable for each interaction, and then we are summing everything up to get the score, because as soon as you go into the custom response processing mode, you completely disable the automatic scoring that TAO is doing. So you need also to recreate the score in the max score value, which I'm doing here. Okay, so thank you for your attention. And again, we will have some more links here to get more details on that. Thank you.